In this video, you'll see a tutor and learner discussing and practicing the pre-writing strategy called asking defining questions. This strategy is very effective when writers have a broad topic that they plan to write about and need help narrowing it down. Asking key questions can help writers define and develop their main idea before they begin drafting. In this video, the tutor and learner first generate a list of questions. The WH or reporter's questions, who, what, where, when, which, why, and how, are a good place to start. Then they group related questions. Next, they decide which of the questions it makes sense to use. Finally, writers use the selected questions to focus their thinking about what they're going to write.
Welcome back, Lucy. It's nice to see you again.
Yes, I'm glad to see you.
So we should talk about what you want to write about next. I thought you had an interesting idea you were mentioning about trying to explain China to Americans or something about that. What would you like to write?
When I came to United States, the one thing I am very surprised, the teacher, adult school teacher say, you should think about yourself. You protect yourself, then you can protect others. Oh, I think in China we said we should help. We should help people. We should think about the first time thinking about group, about the family, about the country. We should obey the country benefit.
I see.
Yeah, so not personal benefit is behind. That's it. So that is, I think, the philosophy, Confucius, the idea and long time and generation to generation, very nature to the Chinese people.
Okay, so I guess the China and the United States are both very big, important countries, and that sounds like a different way of thinking than Americans think a lot of the time.
Yes, something different.
And I guess you think so. You think it would be helpful for Americans to understand better how Chinese people think?
Yes.
But that is a very big subject, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You could write books and books and books about that, couldn't you? I'm sure that's already been done, and you could write some new ones.
Yes, but I can't.
Who would you like to read it?
Oh, I like to introduce my friend, American friend, and understand the Chinese people.
Okay. How much do you think you could get them to read about this to start with? Maybe not several books, right? Maybe just a little bit?
Yes, just a little bit.
Maybe how much?
Maybe in two pages.
Okay.
Two or 3 pages.
Great. That's not very much for such a big subject, but it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
And it's good for people that don't have a lot of time or attention. I've always found in writing, and maybe you found this too, that if you organize and focus what you want to say, it comes out a lot better, especially if you don't have much space. Doesn't that seem like a good idea?
Yes, that's
Okay.
a good idea.
Okay, so I can tell you've given this a lot of thought, and you have a lot to say about it, and I think it would be good if we could come up with some ways to help you shape what you're going to write. And I've been reading about a tool for doing that they call Ask Defining Questions. And the idea is that there's a series of questions that you ask yourself before you even sit down and start writing. You plan it. And this particular way of planning it is to think of as many questions as you can that are related to your subject, and then you start organizing from that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so how about if we try it?
Yes.
So here's what I propose we do. The idea is, so you know what we're going to work on. We're going to, you're going to create a whole bunch of questions related to your subject. And then we're going to take those questions and we're going to put them into groups to start organizing your thoughts. Then, once we have the questions in groups, that'll help you decide which questions you actually want to answer in your piece. Because I think there might be too many to start with. And then, the last step in this strategy is to take the questions that you've ended up with and start to think concretely about what you actually want to write. Okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. So you may ask, what are these magical questions? We call them reporters' questions, like journalists, because traditionally journalists have tried to answer several questions with their articles or their video pieces. And the traditional questions were who, what, where, when, and why. Who did something? Where did the action take place? What happened? When did this happen? And why? Now that's 5 W's. But there's other questions that you're probably going to want to deal with. One of them is which, another W. Among various possibilities, which are the ones that apply to your situation, and how, in what manner do things happen, which inconveniently doesn't start with W, but we should probably think about it anyway.
Okay.
So what I'm going to ask you to do is, without giving it a lot of thought, just try to free your mind and take these pieces of paper where we've written the beginnings of the 7 questions that we just talked about, and just write down as many as come to mind in a few minutes without worrying about them too much and without worrying at all about the spelling or the grammar or any of the technical things that we work on a lot of the rest of the time. Just to put them down for ideas. Okay?
Okay.
And then we'll sort them out afterwards. Just write down a few questions that relate to what would be important to explaining to Americans how Chinese people think. Okay, Lucy, how about when do people in China start learning about the Confucian philosophy?
Why Chinese people at a difficult time still could live and get successful?
Why do Chinese people at difficult times still, I'm not sure, what do you mean when you say could life?
They can not die.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, well, we're off to a great start. We've got a lot of interesting questions, But we've just sort of been brainstorming. We've just been writing things down as they occurred to us, right? Now, since the point of this tool is to organize our writing, we're going to want to start thinking about what to do with these questions. And what we're going to do is take these questions that we've just written down as they came into our heads, and we're going to group them by topic so that we're starting to organize them. Why don't you look at our questions, and if you see two or more of them that belong together, highlight them in yellow, okay? And I'll help with the pink highlighter. I'm going to start on this piece of paper, and maybe you can start with the questions you wrote, okay? I'm going to start highlighting the questions that have to do with how and where people learn about principles of life in China. How did you decide what to highlight? Why do these questions belong together, do you think?
Oh, this is because the Chinese people, we always, if we have a difficult time or hardship develop, but we can still and holding.
Okay, so that's what the questions have in common.
Yeah,
Great. Good thinking.
thank you.
And what mine have in common is that they have to do with where people get their ideas about the philosophy of life and the culture and how to think about things. So it's sort of related to your topic, but it really can be a separate topic by itself. We've grouped our questions into topics, and now we still need to figure out exactly which questions to use. Because I think you did great in the brainstorming, but that means I think we probably have more questions than you could answer in your 2 or 3 pages. So I think we need to still narrow it down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy the questions from these sheets onto these sticky notes so that it'll be easier to separate the ones we're going to use from the ones that we're not going to use for this project, but we might save for something else. You used a yellow marker. What color sticky notes do you think would be a good idea to use to copy your sentences onto?
This one.
Yeah, because it matches, right?
Yeah.
That'll keep things simple. And I use pink, so I'm going to use the pink sticky notes. And we're just going to copy one question on each sticky note and then take a new one and write another question, okay? Okay.
You copy this.
Yes, please. We've copied the highlighted questions onto the Post-it. Now, we're going to decide which of the questions on the Post-its are going to make the final cut, or you think actually belong in your article, okay? So we're going to, in order to start thinking about that, we're going to read them to each other again, okay? You want to take turns?
Yes.
When do people in China start learning about Confucian philosophy? Now, do you think that that's a question you're going to need to answer and want to answer in your article?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll put that over here because that's in. The next one I have is, Where are the main settings for Chinese people to learn cultural values? That's an important question, but are you really going to have to deal with that in the article, or do you want to deal with that in the article?
Yes.
Okay. And the last one I have in this group is, who teaches people important principles of life in China? That's kind of related to the other questions, but I don't know if you think you're going to have room to deal with that?
I think this is the same in this question.
You can sort of deal with that under that settings question we already did.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's important. You realize you can't talk about everything that might relate to your subject. So we're going to leave that one separate over here. May I hear your group?
Okay. Do you know why Chinese people at a difficult time still could keep going and get successful?
Okay. And so do you think that that's so important
Yes.
and interesting that it has to be in your article?
Yes.
Okay.
That's important.
Well, that you didn't hesitate with that one, so I believe you. And what's your other question?
Other question is, why many people, Chinese people, still respect the Mao Zedong?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So you group those together.
That is, yes, could be put together.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is the common theme? What is the topic? Why do they belong to, why did you put them together?
Put together because I think Chinese people and in the traditional and education, we teach the students and the kids, everybody in the life have meet different difficult things.
Right.
But we how to treat the difficult things. We should persist and continue work.
Oh, and that's?
Yes, that's it. We can get in the successful.
And did Mao Zedong teach about that?
Oh yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so that's the connection.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, great. Okay, I see how that fits together now. Thank you for explaining that to me. So, we've kept a lot of questions. Do you think you're going to have room for all of them? To answer all of them? Okay, good. So, the last step we're going to take today is to talk about the answers to the questions that we've decided you need to include. And that'll help you start thinking about exactly what you're going to write. That's as far as we're going to get in this session, but we'll be off to a really good start because we will have given it a lot of thought about what the important questions are and what belongs together and what the answers to those specific questions are. Okay?
Okay.
What I think we should do is ask the questions that we've grouped together and then write down brief answers, and then we'll collect those. So you'll have maybe not all the material you'll need when you write your piece, but you'll already have a lot of it already thought about and maybe partly written, okay? So one of my questions was, where are the main settings for Chinese people to learn cultural values? What's the answer? Where do Chinese people mainly learn their cultural values?
The main is the family and the school.
Okay. And we're going to start collecting these together, all in one place, so it's organized for you. Okay, now we've done my questions. Would you read one of your questions and put down the answer?
Why the Chinese people at difficult times still could keep going and get successful?
So what's a very short answer for that? I know that's a huge question, but what's the main idea?
The main idea is Chinese people know how to face to difficult things.
So maybe the answer to your question is because they have lessons all through their life about how to persist?
Yeah, persist to face to difficult things.
Do you mind writing that down under the question? We've got the pink group over here, and do you want to put this one with the one it belongs with over there? We started out with a very broad general topic,
Yeah,
and now we have very specific questions and answers grouped into topics, right? So do you see how much easier your article is going to be to write?
yes.
And to keep it to 2 pages
Yes, that's it.
instead of
Instead of
500 pages? Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you for help.
That was a bit of effort, right?
Yes.
And it took us some time, huh? But good writing doesn't just happen in an instant. It takes some thought and some effort. But I think that the way we've organized it, I think you're going to find it is actually that the time and the effort we've put into this, you're going to find are very worthwhile in making your writing better and easier, I hope.
Yes, it is.
Great. So that's as much as we have time for this session.
Yeah.
But next time, how about if we work on an outline, organizing the topics in order as the next step toward doing your draft of your article.
Okay.
Great. So let's remember what we did so you can do this on your own when I'm not around. First, we just produced a whole lot of questions. Who, what, where, when, why, how, and which. Then we grouped them together by what was related logically, what was related by topic instead of by question. Then we decided which of those to use, and then we grouped them together by topic and discussed the ones we decided to use to start thinking about the answers we're going to write. Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So I think about the answer and try write the draft. You right?
Well, I think next time we're going to add a step. We're going to do an outline.
Okay.
Okay? Now we've used this strategy. What did you think about it?
I think about it like this. It helped me and focus. Help me and organize the thinking and the article and topic.
Great. And decide what you would and wouldn't write about.
I can decide what I want, what I don't want.
Great.
Yeah.
And you think that'll help you write the article?
Yes.
Great. Well, that's the whole idea.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you.
You've seen a tutor working with a learner who feels comfortable writing sentences or even paragraphs independently. If your learner is still working on the fundamentals of writing, you could use this strategy by asking them to dictate their ideas so you can record them in writing. Since you're acting as your learner's scribe, they're relieved of the task of writing and can concentrate just on thinking about what they want to say.